we're keeping it open for everybody at the moment. All right, so I gave this talk about a year ago at our Synercom IT Summit, which is coming up the 13th and 14th of September. So if you want to come to that, I'll get you the link. Follow up with me after the talk. The first day starts about noon. There is a Palo Alto CTF, and then that evening is like happy hour, hors d'oeuvres. And the next day is like all talks, and then stay for the like closing ceremony. So they give out raffles, and it's some good stuff. I am not allowed to participate because I'm an employee, but it's worth sticking around for. So, all right, I'll get into it. So Pwnagotchi, I guess most of you know who I am already, but hacker, more like a skid. I've been with Synercom for about 4 years. 11 years in InfoSec, 4 years as a sysadmin. I worked in health, finance, big data, Twitter, the losing edge, same as my Discord handle. So agenda, we're going to go through building, configuring, capturing, extracting, and cracking. So we're going to go through the whole deal. If you are working on it live here, don't worry about it. If something doesn't work, we'll troubleshoot it after we're done here. Pwnagotchi, most of you know what they are, but in the 90s, there was the Tamagotchis that you had to like feed them, and I think you had to do some other, like they went to the bathroom and stuff. So it's kind of based off that project. The guy who developed it though has mixed in some AI and stuff, and don't ask me how that works because I have no idea. I do know it kicks in about after 20 minutes of being on, and it will say in the bottom right hand corner AI mode. So from what I've read, it uses, you can pair them together, so they'll start talking to each other, and they will, one will sniff on one channel, one will sniff on another channel. So it uses like logic somehow to do that. The creator Evil Socket on Twitter, definitely follow him. He also created BetterCap. If you're not familiar with BetterCap, check it out. It basically is a graphical interface that allows you to do kind of what I'm doing here on this laptop with Airmon NG. Just allows you to do it, using a mouse instead of a keyboard. So check that out. BetterCap is actually running on the Pwnagotchis. You can access it by going to its web address. I don't remember what it is, but you can play with it there. Legal, we've been over this kind of, don't violate the CFA. It's a gray area, but, proceed it with your own risk. Build list. So basically all you need is the Pi 0 with headers. If you're good at soldering, you can get it without headers, but if I got it, it would be a mess. So I chose to go with the one with the headers pre-installed and a micro SD card. Once you have that, you're pretty much good to go. You don't need the e-ink display or anything like that. You can use your computer that you're attached to. You can use Bluetooth through your phone. And there are other methods. The Pi 0 has an HDMI output, so you can even use a monitor as your screen. So this build list was about a year ago, but I made it stupid proof, partly from my own mistakes. So I ordered like the wrong e-paper screen. There's like red and black and white, and I wasn't paying attention, and I ordered that, and it doesn't work, right? So you got to get the one that just does black and white, or it won't work. So, but everything else, pretty easy to order. It's just that stupid screen. And they had different versions. Oh. What's the benefit of the clock? So one thing that sucks about the Pis is that, like right now, I'm capturing handshakes, and let's say I'm, using what's the Wi-Fi capture word driving software. Wiggle, yes. And let's say you're keeping track, of your location. There's a GPS add-on. Like it's hard for you to tie back, a time and date to, somewhere where maybe you were. So right now, like you'll see all the files that get written are like, like 1999 or something, because I don't have the battery installed to keep the time. It resets every time I boot. So So that's nice. And there's like a GPS add-on. If you don't want to do the war driving with another device, then you can go back and say you crack the hash and you want to go back and find out where that network is, kind of are at the mercy of your memory. So I have not installed. I have the time module. I've not installed it though, so because it doesn't fit in the case. But yeah, there's a blog with all these links there too, and I'm gonna give the slides after the talk is done. So those are all clickable links. This is kind of what like a basic build looks like besides the case. So you've got your battery up there on top on the right picture, your e-ink screen, the Raspberry Pi Zero on the bottom, and then you do need a USB cable that supports data. It will not work with one that just does charging. You need one that supports, being able to connect to the. You see on the screen here, this adapter, micro USB adapter here is actually the Ethernet port. This one is just for power. I don't know why they did that, but it's important. Excuse me. Attaching the screen, make sure you do this evenly because the pins will bend and break, right? So kind of start in the middle and, just press down gently. You can bend the pins back, I know from experience, but, you'd rather have them stay straight. Flashing an image, you connect your micro USB card to your computer, download the image, and then use a software called Balena Etcher to write it to the SD card. This is kind of a picture of the process. But basically, yeah, you pick the image, you pick your SD card. Make sure you don't have any other SD cards with like your backup of your family album or something, because you don't want to write over that. So another learn from experience tip there. But yeah, have one thing plugged in and click flash, and it takes about, it says about 8 minutes here on the screen and screenshot, but depending on the speed of your SD card, it may be faster. This is just a kind of a overview. Like I was saying, this is the Ethernet port. There is an issue with the driver. So if it's not recognized in your network preferences, you may have to download a driver. Do not vouch for that driver, however. But this is the link from one of the forums where other people are using it and seem to not be getting their credit card information stolen. So, but yeah, definitely install that driver at your own risk. There may be other better places to get it besides the Pwnagotchi forums. So screenshot here, once it is recognized as the Ethernet adapter, the screenshot is actually wrong. You should want to set it to 10.0.0.2. This will still work, I think, but just because you don't want the gateway to be the device, just make it 2, and you can send them both to 2 if you want. It should still work, but I definitely wouldn't do 1 if you don't have to. Connect. I use Putty to connect to mine. You just pick 10.0.0.2, hit open, and you should get a SSH connection. It may say if you've got multiple Pwnagotchis, you may get this message, potential security breach. That's just because it's looking for the old SSH key or from a different Pwnagotchi. So ignore that. You're pretty safe. Username Pi, password Raspberry. It's the same for all the Raspberry Pi distros, and then change that, after the class. The config.toml, this used to be YAML, but also toml, very, very important for syntax. If you've got like spaces or tabs or stuff in there, that shouldn't be. The screen will not work. It may boot, but it will, it will start acting funny. You do want to go in and set your preferences. PwnGrid is a database controlled by EvilSocket, I believe. But basically, if you connect it to the internet, these are not connected to the internet, and I don't upload them to PwnGrid. but you can upload them there, and you get like fake internet points for doing that. So if you're interested in that, turn that on. But otherwise, I use these for customer engagements and stuff. So I have that turned off.
Okay, at what point are you creating that? Okay.
Yeah. So
because I found different answers that you need to create it. You need to create it right after you flash, or you create it after you have it connected and it's recognized connected after.
I think they used to say, set it before first boot. And I think now they say, let it boot, and it creates like a basic config. I always grab the one off the website that's just even like a minimal config and paste over it, because the one that they put there when you boot the first time, has a bunch of stuff in it, and it'll work, but I want to be sure that a bunch of stuff is not enabled. So, but yeah, I think the new instructions say let it boot, go in there, make a copy of it, and then edit it and trim it down to what you want. WinSCP, this is just directions on how to use WinSCP. If you haven't before, it's pretty easy. The only gotcha there is you're going to want to set go to the advanced and set your shell to sudo su dash, just so that you have root privileges and you can go and grab the handshakes, because I think they are in the root folder. I could be wrong. I think they do get put in the root folder. The config is in Etsy, but the handshakes actually go to I think the base of root. Here's an example of config. So like I said, this used to be YAML, and it was a little bit less busy, but the main things I have here, you're going to want to whitelist your own networks. Otherwise it will, you'll be watching TV and it'll go and de-auth you. And I've actually forgot, that they were on, and then I was like on a work call. I'm like, why the hell do I keep getting kicked off the wireless? And even though I had it whitelisted, it was still, enough of interference that it was, messing with my stuff. So you want to exclude not only the whitelist, but just go ahead and do the good measure and do it in the Pwnagotchi stuff too. Yeah, also, your neighbors would probably appreciate you whitelisting their networks. I like to take, when I walk the dog, I'll bring it with me. I have one plugged into my truck that just starts when the car starts. So I'm sure people hate me. So, I just let it run. One thing too, you have to be pretty close to the access point. So you're gonna get home and it's gonna say pwned 14 access points, and you'll go to crack the PCAPs and they'll say no handshakes, even though the Pwnagotchi said it got them. But you have to get pretty close. There are ways to mod antennas on these, and I definitely recommend that, because it just seems like there's a lot of files that are empty and there should be handshakes that are not. The new updates do get the pairwise master. It's PMKID. That's a passive attack. So just by listening, it'll grab those. That's one of the non-illegal methods that it'll grab stuff. Those seem to work pretty well, rather than trying to capture the handshakes. The handshakes, it'll try to de-auth and you have to wait for the device to reconnect. But just passively grabbing those PMKID files seems to be more, I seem to get more cracks and more actual usable stuff than I do with the handshakes. But get close. Find the access point and get close if you can, within legal reason. So this is some more examples of the config. These are my home network neighbors. Sector 67 is in here because I was building these there. Just to highlight the Pwnagotchi again, turn that off before you connect to the internet. Once you do the config and boot it, it takes a little while to boot because it's creating some keys and stuff for encryption. So it takes a little while, the first boot. Just be patient, because if you unplug it during that time, it's going to break the whole thing. Well, not the whole thing, but you're going to have to reflash probably. So just wait longer. Once it's connected, to get the files off of it, looks like, yeah, it is in root handshakes. So you will need root access on your Pis to get those. I like to, you can, and there's a module that it will do the cracking on the Pi, but this one I think up here and that one has like the CPU usage add-on, and I found it just chunks up too much of the processor to be able to do anything. It's worth offline cracking. Here, well, we're going to talk about Windows subsystem for Linux on Kali. I'll probably pull up my VM and crack there, but you can install AirCrack NG on Kali for Windows subsystem, and it works. So that's my preferred. If I don't have our password cracker at work, it's got 8 1080 Ti's. You can convert them to Hashcat, but if I don't have an internet connection, or I don't want to like upload it there, I just want to run a quick crack, AirCrack NG will use your processor to do the cracking, and it's pretty efficient, right? Like you don't need 8 GPUs to do this. It will take longer with the CPU, but it'll get the job done. This is just logging into Kali, some more step-by-step stuff, just to get you to the point where you're cracking. Copying the PCAP files for Kali, kind of the same thing when SCP, just bring it over to like a flash drive, bring it to your Linux box, plug it in, and move it. Oops. To crack, so you're gonna want to do some updates. Install Seclist. Seclist is one of my favorite word lists out there. Also, Payload All the Things is another good GitHub repo to go and star. A lot of good word lists there. AirCrack NG. Do not try to install that from source. I've bricked our password cracker trying to do that. So use apt to do that unless you know what you're doing with make, because I don't. AirCrack NG, W for the word list, and then the PCAP file, and that's all you really need to do. So this is an example of one of the commands I run on our wireless engagements. Is this WPA top 4800? Of course, I'll run much larger word lists, but if you just want to like get a quick check to see if the password is weak, that's a good word list to use. Also, if you're cracking something and they have a password that's not in like a dictionary list or in your word list, it's likely not going to crack, with the exception of Trent's key space stuff. It really is dependent on you having a good word list, or the like, let's say you have half the password in your word list and the rest is numbers. You could get it then, but if it's something obscure or just a bunch of random characters, like even if it's just 8 characters, it's going to be hard to crack. So spaces, password crackers have problems with spaces. So, use password phrases instead of passwords. But like you'll see, these are set up for 8 character lowercase, and they crack like in like seconds. So definitely don't do that. Oops. So this is what AirCrack NG looks like. It'll come up with the key spaces and a bunch of cryptographic stuff I don't understand. And you can see here, it tested almost 4,800. That was probably the password list from before, pretty quickly. So I think it doesn't tell us. Oh yeah, it does say. I can't do the math there, but let's say it was a couple minutes. The display. So the display is kind of cool. There are a bunch of different things that are displayed. It will talk to other Pwnagotchis, so that's this thing here down here. So this Pwnagotchi is named Hawking, and it's talking to Alpha. So they're kind of pairing up and attacking access points together, or once they're in the AI mode down here, they don't have an example there, but once they're paired up and AI mode is kicked in, they're teaming up together. I think only 2 can pair up at a time, but I thought that was in the to-do list where they were going to try to get more. Yeah.
The Pwnagotchi party, we could find this person, well, the Pwnagotchi connected with his, so we knew he was in the room. Had to find him.
Yeah, it was a pretty. I mean, it was probably this size room, and it was the Pwnagotchi party. And I'm like, oh, he's not here. And then it came up with their like CTF name, which was like Threat Club or something. And I'm like, well, he must be close by because I know that's him. So that was like, yeah, that was kind of a cool story. But yeah, I mean, it's fun going out with them, like to restaurants and stuff or somewhere else. Like rarely you'll connect, like it's a big deal to me if I connect to one nearby. Like I'm super excited. But like, you know, COVID kind of ruined that, right? Like I built these and then COVID happened and I was like, you know, stuck at home and I stopped carrying them like on my dog walks and stuff because I got like all my neighbors' handshakes and, you know, yeah, but now it's coming back, right? Like the party was really cool because, you know, like the different faces here, like I've only seen probably like half of them. And usually like it's like sleeping or sad because, you know, it has nothing to eat or whatever. So it's nice to see it go crazy when there's a lot of access points and a lot of other Pwnagotchis. These are editable too, so in the config you can change them to something you want. Make it say whatever you want. Plugins, there's a whole ton of plugins. I got a few installed on a few different of these, but the ones I like the most are MemTemp. That tells you the memory and temperature. Also tells you the CPU. I've used this Bluetooth tether before to connect to my iPhone and use that as a screen, which is kind of cool because you can also, you know, access BetterCap and, you know, like turn it from auto mode to manual mode or, you know, whatever else. LED is kind of cool. It does make the power do different blinky stuff. The online hash crack don't have that installed, but it'll automatically upload your handshakes to online hash crack, and I think, you know, it'll even, you can set up alerts when they're, you know, cracked. And then UPS Lite, that one that's on the table there is a UPS Lite version 1.4 battery. That has a plugin to tell me how much battery is left in the top. But these with the cases are Pi Sugar, I think version 1s, and they don't have a plugin. I think the version 2s do have a plugin to tell you the percentage of the battery left, but both of these I get about 4 hours of runtime on. So you can connect them like to if you've got a, you know, portable USB battery bank. Those I get like 8 to 12 hours on, and then, you know, anything bigger, you know, the bigger the better. So on my to-do list, actually dig into the code of the, you know, AI machine learning stuff. Pwn mail, I think you can get like a Pwn mail email address, and it'll do something with the fake internet points with the database. Date and time add-on, like I said, it kind of, you know, you don't really know when the date and time is. It's not really important to me because I'll just do like large, you know, I'll pull all the hashes or all the PCAPs off of it, and I'll do like a for loop and just run it and see how many crack. And then the ones that crack, you know, excuse me, I keep in a secret journal to someday if I ever need wireless or, you know, whatever. So, but you can, you know, use the Wiggle app, and it'll go and actually keep track of the access points. And then you can upload them like anonymously to this database somewhere in San Francisco. And then you can, you know, go to the Wiggle website and look up the access points. It's kind of a fun thing to do, to go look up your access point and see, you know, how many other people have the same name as yours, because it is good to have like a unique one. But otherwise, you know, it'll gather Bluetooth stuff too, and, you know, it's kind of a creepy thing to upload it, but like I'll use it for an engagement for work where before I even go to on-site, I'll go to Wiggle and I'll look up the business address and see like, oh, here's the access point names, right? So I don't have to do the discovery when I show up. Somebody else has already done it for me most of the time. References. So one of the channels I really liked is a guy by the name of Fatman44, I think. I don't know why it's not showing up in this link here, but that's a link to that. The Pwnagotchi website, of course. There's a subreddit. There's a Slack, and there's also a forum. So those are great places to go and beg for help. I did many a time because just the way the config used to be and the way the config is now, like you make a change and it'll just stop working. You undo it and it still won't work, and you'll just end up reflashing it. So I'm on like a firmware from last year, but I've seen that there's been updates. And I've heard that the Pi 0 version 2s are having a problem with the Wi-Fi built-in adapter. So like some of the deauthing and stuff isn't working. So if you can get your hands on a Pi 0 version 1, definitely do that for now. End of slides. Q&A. I see you're all still awake, so that's good.
It's okay. Talking about this on the way here is kind of going over like what deauthing is, Wi-Fi handshakes, and Icarus and I were saying like explain why Vegas is really mad with Wi-Fi.
Yeah. So I mean, Vegas. We were at the Spectre Ops training in Washington D.C. My coworker and I both had these with us, and we were like walking around the White House and like we're not inside, but like near it, and Lincoln Memorial and stuff. And I made sure to turn that shit off because I did not want to get thrown into the back of a van, and masked, and like people. Especially Vegas, right? Like they've got their production network, their slots network, the gaming network, and you start kicking things off there, they're gonna notice, and B, they're not gonna be, very happy about it. So especially if you go to DEF CON, do not mess with the casinos. Like
There's always somebody, and they have that. They have that situation where they pull in like every matchmaker and have them go through what their badge is because they were the casino was certain.
Yeah.
Like the offering badge or the official badge. But so do you all think you're taking them on? And then you're just waiting to capture that for the 4-part handshake?
Yep. Yeah. So the reason you before the PMKID attack was discovered, the only way to get the handshake was to boot somebody off or to get lucky and be listening when someone's connecting. So these devices actually, I've got like a tablet and a that's behind me here and a cell phone connected to the boxes in back, and I will have to reconnect them because like if I don't have a client, like I've been having problems with Wi-Fi pickups lately because everyone's work from home now, right? So I go to an office, it's supposed to be 2,000 people, and there's 10 people, and like one guy is connected to the Wi-Fi. So if I don't have a client or someone connected, I can't get the PMKID or the handshake. So the reason you do the deauth is you don't want to wait for that person to connect, right? So you go kick them off. Usually their laptops and stuff are configured to like connect back automatically. So unless they're on like video conferencing call or something, they might not even notice. It just might be like a blip. Their adapter says disconnected and then it reconnects. But in that handshake is, the packets of the encrypted password. So that's why you would do the deauth attack rather than, have to wait.
You can use dog also with kind of like evil twin that you're taking them off.
Yes.
Or there's also in terms of legal Wi-Fi out there. No problem. With hotels, they would use the Wi-Fi deauthers to be deauth everything except what's connecting hotel Wi-Fi. be like, oh, okay, everybody's coming in with their own personal hotspots, so they're not taking a hotel for Wi-Fi. We're gonna disrupt their hotspots, disrupt their Wi-Fi. And I say, once you connect to the hotel Wi-Fi, everything will work just fine. You're not gonna get DR. And somebody figured that out, and there was some.
Yeah. Yeah, that doesn't sound very customer friendly.
There's another person that's jamming. The government doesn't.
Yeah, so I actually have a really jamming is serious business. There was a guy downtown here during Halloween when we had all those riots and stuff. I don't know, probably 10 years ago, whatever. So this guy was a engineering student or whatever, and he jammed the police radios for 5 minutes. Well, they didn't catch him, that year, not even the next year, but 2 years later, the FCC had time to rifle through because they're fucking listening everywhere. They had time to rifle through the data, triangulated the guy to his apartment, and the guy was in jail for something else already. And they're like, he's like, am I getting out, today? And I know all this because I have a friend that was a sheriff, so I'm sure I'm not supposed to be talking about this, especially on a stream. But yeah, so they came in, they're like, no, the feds, you're looking at 25 years, just for jamming the police radios. So do not mess with the FCC. Actually, there's some debate in the community if you have a ham license and you're doing the thing or you're turning up your radios to a power you're not supposed to. It's actually worse of offense than being unlicensed because they say, the judge is going to say hey, you should have known better, right? You're a ham operator, you were turning up the power on your radios, you should have known better. So.
Kind of a question. Somebody's concerned if you're doing it long enough for them to notice.
Yeah. Yes.
The Pwnagotchi stuff. Yeah. What you need, police. Or
Yeah. Airport, definitely. Yeah.
Safety related,
Yeah, it is. It is. It's. I personally think the DR thing is a gray area, but yeah, it's a great technique to boot everybody off the Wi-Fi. If you've got a evil twin, and you can get close to people, force them to connect to your access point instead of the one they're supposed to be. That's a great use case for it. But yeah, a lot of the stuff I've done lately, I don't even have to do that. I just wait for the PMKey ID to show up and arrow dump up at the right-hand corner there, and I'll just crack it there. So, of course, WPA Enterprise, you've got certificates, you've got multi-factor auth. If it's just username and password, I'll password spray Office 365, and if I get your password that way, I'll try to use that to log into the Wi-Fi. That's worked almost every engagement. I do have an access point page that'll come up and say firmware upgrade in progress too, and it'll ask for the password. I've gotten the password that way. Otherwise, I mean, if social engineering's allowed, I can just walk up to someone and ask, what's the corporate Wi-Fi stuff, and I've gotten access that way as well. But yeah, the DR thing, I haven't had any complaints about it. I haven't really had anybody notice. There are some Cisco access points that, for government sites and stuff, if they detect an employee plugging in an access point to the wall, they'll actually do, a DDoS attack against a suspected rogue access point. I've seen some of that technology out there. So, and that's a legal use case of de-authing. But yeah, tread at your own risk. So anybody get the TTF? Anybody trying for it? Yeah. I'm capturing now, but I don't. Do you want to explain the Netgear stuff?
I mean, I could.
Is it just basically is your word list a Netgear key space that was leaked?
So, yeah, if you want me to.
Yeah, if you want to plug in.
It's funny, I didn't actually build slides there.
Oh, well, no, you don't need slides. If you just want to, I mean, if no one's doing the TTF, you could just do it up here live.
Could I suppose?
Yep.
Doesn't that need to work on the point for
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, most like businesses and stuff will, have both, right? So, but yes, this adapter here will do both 2.4 and 5 gigahertz, or you can get a separate adapter for that too. I'll use. I like this one. The Alpha.
The hard part was these drivers. Yeah. it's something like full time. They're also like-
But it's adapter, you don't know if you can recognize it.
Is there
Ready?
anything that actually puts to do stuff in the office?
Yes, you can enable client isolation if your access point supports that. I tell all of my customers if they're running a gas open network, do that, right? Because I don't know if this gas network is client isolation or not. But like basically, like if I run a port scan, I only see the access point in my device, right? It makes it like a tunnel for each point. Do you want to try to do the Hangouts meeting too, or we'll just end that?
I don't know.
Is that too much? Yeah.
I'm running Parrot. I don't know.
Okay, I'll just kill the meeting and give you the connection here. All right, thanks for joining, Dave. We'll see ya.